Hi everyone and welcome to Murphy's Law Garage. Let's make this S650 imitate a Darkhorse a little bit and possibly go faster more consistently. Stick around. Dang it. So you might be asking yourself, what do you mean imitate a Darkhorse? Isn't it a Darkhorse? It's not a Darkhorse. This is not a track car, but it shares many things with the Darkhorse, except some very critical bits here that help the Darkhorse make more power. One of those critical issues is the way that this motor gets air, and that is both of these intakes on the dual throttle bodies are supplied air through ram air ducts on the front of the car. And if I look in here, you can even see down in there how that tube reaches the filter. Can you possibly even see my hand? Let's see. Ooh, there it is. Okay. So the Darkhorse, this is much more open like this on the Darkhorse. But on the GT, for some reason, they went and blocked off all of these sections. I'm talking, it's like probably less than 50% of the volume this space can flow has been blocked off. Now, there is an RTR grill you can put on them that has an opening, but the opening is still small, albeit it's about-ish the same size as the opening where the air is being fed in to the air filter. So, what we're going to do is we're going to open this up by removing all of this extra material to allow more air to get in. Now you ask yourself why. I'm not going to give you some BS reasoning like there's a ram air force that's going to make a tremendous amount of positive pressure, imitating boost or something like that. A cold air intake is a cold air intake. And there's only so much air pressure generated on the front of the car. I mean, you're not doing 200 plus miles an hour to generate positive airflow. You also have to defeat the restriction of the air filter. So realistically, that extra air pressure more or less goes to increasing the efficiency of the filter media. I don't know if that makes any sense. We don't have to go that deep. But the point is, the reason why the Darkhorse has those grill openings opened up to get more air in here is so that intake air temperatures drop faster under heavy use. There's a lot of heat right here. Your radiators, all your other coolers are hanging out on the front of the car, and these intakes are each on each side of that heat, and they're constantly being soaked, especially when the car is on the track and getting beat on. There's a ton of heat there, and even decelerating off a straightaway and slowing down, the air movement over the nose of the car slows down enough that the intake air temperatures will rise as the car enters the turn. So how do you avoid that? How do you at least not avoid it, but reduce the effect of that? And that is get more cold, clean air into the intake. And that's why the Darkhorse has it. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why not the GT or the Performance Pack GT cars? The answer is water and dirt. Let me show you something. Water and dirt. I have not manipulated this. These filters rotate only a certain direction before they slip on. So this is in the original OEM position. The air inlet duct, as you can see, is down there coming up at the bottom of the filter, which is filthy, I promise you, but I'm not going to take it off to show you that. What I want to show you is that even up here on the top of the filter, look at the amount of dirt that actually manages to get up here in this filter. It's insane. And you ask yourself, why? It's because of the ram air intake. So if it's too open, more dust, more bugs, debris, and worst of all, water can be forced in here. Now, will water hitting the underside of this filter cause this car to, the filter to get sucked in and waterlock this? No, it won't. It's just not going to happen. But it will harm the lifespan of the filter, and this is not technically a track car. Even if you have the Performance Pack, they still don't open this darn thing up. So even on a Performance Pack car, they don't want to do it. But on the Darkhorse, they will, because that is a very specifically built car for a specific purpose. This is not that it needs to go fast in a straight line 99% of the time, but we're still going to do it because I want this car to recover its intake air temperatures quicker. And that's the secret sauce here. Recover intake air temperatures after heat soaking quicker. Now, I've got only the world's finest assortment of Harbor Freight small to medium size Dremel tools with all the different kinds of bits and stones and sanding and yada, yada, yada. I'm not exactly sure what precise combination of this I'm going to use, but whatever it is going to take plastic out of the grill. So let me get set up and I'm going to try a few things, and I'm kind of hoping that one of those directional drill bits that you can drill sideways with might work really well, and I'll let you know what that looks like. So here's the setup. Have one of those directional drill bits that has the ability to cut in a sideways motion on the Dremel. Got it set at a pretty low speed, and it very quickly and effectively cut out this hunk of plastic from there. Now, this requires a lot of attention to detail and dexterity, because you can see I already managed to slip a little bit and touch some place I didn't want to. But I'm not trying to get this perfect. In fact, I'm staying a little bit off of it, and I'm going to eat the plastic out on each one of these cells. And then I'm going to come back with a either a stone burr or a one of the little sanding drums for a Dremel, and I'm going to clean up these sharp edges in here. But let me go ahead and I'm going to get all of these knocked out. You see, there's even some edges in here that could be opened up. I'm going to get all of this knocked out, and then I'm going to bring you back to show you what it looks like once I get in here and kind of polish this up. All right, so note to self, the drill bit is probably not rated to drill sideways, or I was being too aggressive and it broke. Instead, I grabbed one of these carbide diamond burrs, and it's even faster and cleaner. It doesn't gum the plastic up as much, and I was much more quickly able to kind of clean that up. So you can see actually here my test path, it cuts really fast. So I'm going to, like I said, go ahead and get all of these cut out. All right, now there it is. All of these holes are as open as they can be without chewing up more plastic in the grill. I know it's a little difficult to see some of it, but you see here, this is all wide open now. I even opened some of these channels up here on the sides further than the plastic would normally allow. Something I want to mention is that while I was cutting this, I noticed it made it much less evident that the plastic had been cut on if you undercut with the bit. So don't just go straight in. Let me grab it. Don't just cut straight in like this. Turn yourself in and cut at this angle and approach the corner so that you have an undercut to it. Not only does that give you a little bit more airflow because there's less plastic in the way, but the undercut makes the cut much less visible. You see I still have some plastic flash here from cutting on this. So I'm going to clean this up with a sanding wheel, and I'll bring you back, but I won't show you the other side because I'm just going to quickly run through that. All right, I've got it all sanded and cleaned up. Here's your direct comparison. Here it is, all opened up. You can see all of the openings are wide open versus closed up. It's a big difference. It's going to be a lot more cold airflow making it in to these intakes and reducing those IATs. And here is the drum sanding bit that I used to get in there and clean it up. This is actually pretty aggressive. It eats the plastic really fast. Realistically, I probably could have used it to even cut the plastic, but the radius is so large it's hard to get in those corners. So I'd say this is good for cleanup, but be very gentle. Because the surface area is larger, it's easier to move across the opening as you're sanding it like this and make this smoother, less ledgy, bumpy. This is all very smooth and even now as compared to the way it was with the burr. So let me do the other side and we'll be done here. All right, and just like that, this side is now done. Now, I think I have a black paint marker laying around. You can see, you know, the lighter color raised edges of these plastics where it's been cut on. Let me grab a paint marker and see if I can neaten that up a bit. So here's what I'm working with. I've got this Testors model car flat black paint. Yeah, it's not shiny, but it works, and very well. You can see right here, let me back up a bit. I've done this one and this one, and it doesn't perfectly hide it, but look at the difference from the cuts before. So by the time I'm done touching up these bits here where the plastic's raw, it's going to be really hard to tell someone's been in here. Boom. Well, there you go. A little bit of patience with a paint pen, and it is almost impossible to tell, even sitting from your distance here, which is only about 12, 14 inches away from it, to tell that I've done this. All right, that's it. Both sides are done. Now you tell me if you can tell that I modified these. All right, how close do you have to get to figure it out? And if someone's looking that close, they can just go somewhere. All right, so I'd like to mention that in the video up until this point, you've noticed that I've only opened up really this center row here, as well as wide mouthing these slots that were already here a little bit. Now that is already a more than double increase in the amount of airflow that's coming in here. And I would suggest that if you're a daily driver in the rain and snow a lot in a very dusty area, I probably wouldn't go beyond just opening up this center row right here. One good reason also for this is it's much easier to get a clean, invisible cut in removing that plastic in these center ones than it is to remove the plastic in these because of the way that they're molded. But if you want to go all the way and you're a drag racer, you're a competition racer, you're going to want to remove the plastic also that is right here. Someone doing competition use of their vehicle is going to want to open all of it up. So you can see here, I've come back on this side and opened all of these side ones up, and it's not as clean. It is very difficult to get this plastic out of here because the molding is much thicker. So it requires an even steadier hand to get this out. But I'm still going to take the paint pen to this, and it's mostly going to be invisible. That is a surprisingly large increase in induction noise. Wow. So I just did a pull in our safe, secluded area that's not in traffic, and look at the inlet air temperatures. So of course I'm moving right now, right? So you'd expect to see 1 degree above ambient, but I'm not moving anymore. Look at this. Go bring your car outside and do this same thing and see how quickly the inlet air temperature rockets to the moon after you've made the car do a lot of work. In this case, a really hard pass. Look at how slowly the inlet air temperature is rising. This would have been 10 degrees or more hotter before because of how little fresh air made it into the intakes. Now, I'm gonna move a little bit in this parking lot. Just trying to help some air circulate through and then get back up onto the highway. And watch how quickly the inlet air temperature recovers. Look, it's already going back the other way. Let me make a turn. So it's going to keep going down, but I can't go very fast because someone's driving slow in front of me. But this is why you want to do this. Look at how quickly the inlet air temperature is recovering. And not only that, how little it heat soaked sitting there. I sat at a red light for no less than 2 minutes, and the temperature never went up more than 8 degrees above ambient. It's insane. Look at that. I've been sitting here idling after putt-putting through my neighborhood, running the car hard, and look at how slowly the inlet air temperatures are increasing. That is why you should do this. Let's see if it sounds any different. So it sounds different. There is more intake noise, but the exhaust is so loud, it's very hard to tell. You will, though, when you're driving down the road and you first tip into the pedal, you hear that initial coming from the intake, and then the exhaust quickly quiets it out. It might be more noticeable on a non-modified exhaust car or in quiet mode on the cars with active exhaust. Now, as far as the draggy times go, very, very slight improvement. I expected a little bit more, but not really. Like I said, this isn't going to make more horsepower peak. But because the inlet air temperatures stay so much cooler more often, the car is going to make more power more of the time. And I don't know if that really makes more sense. It's more like power under the curve rather than peak power on a dyno. Especially down low whenever you initially start to hit, where the car would otherwise be trying to overcome heat soak. It's not going to have to recover from as much of that as the car gets moving. So it's going to make more power more of the time, especially for a car that gets beat on more often. All right, so I'm not going to say it was easy. It's pretty quick, probably about an hour, hour and a half. It requires an extremely steady hand to do this without jacking up the bumper. So if you don't have a steady hand, don't do it. Maybe find a friend that's willing to help. Definitely get a black paint pen to help clean up your edges, because even though I have a very steady hand, I nicked in a few places where I didn't want to that would have been more obvious, and I was able to quickly cover that up with paint in such a way you'll never tell, especially where those intakes are buried in. As far as data goes, I mean, the Darkhorse has it. There's a good reason for it. It helps. The only way to properly scientifically tell you the impact of this would be to be able to data log IATs and run a course at the same ambient temperature before and after. And maybe in the future, when we can data log, I'll just put tape over the holes and prove to you that it makes a difference. Regardless, it doesn't matter. It will help. It will reduce intake air temperatures faster, which will result in making more power more often, especially when it's hot and the car is heat soaking and under a lot of stress. Do I recommend that someone who just daily drives with an exhaust and isn't into competition? I don't. It's not going to help you in any meaningful way. Anyone who does any sort of autocross, track days, quarter mile, eighth mile, anything like that, where you might put the car under a lot of load and need to turn around and do the same thing over and over again and make sure that the car consistently delivers power, this is for you. So thank you for coming along. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, drop them down below. The Dremel came from Harbor Freight, by the way, 25 bucks. So it's not even that expensive a thing to get yourself into. Regardless, we love y'all. God bless. Peace.